So if it were up to you, you'd do most of your things naked. Most of your
Me
day-to-day
personally,
life.
I don't like sweating on clothes.
Okay.
That's my take on this.
Okay.
So if I'm cold,
Is that your reason for being a naturist?
if I'm cold, I will put on clothes.
Oh, okay.
So, but I cannot enjoy. Well, I never swim if other than naked.
Okay.
I never go to the sauna if I cannot be naked.
Okay.
So I'm looking for those experiences.
Meditation,
Keto diet,
astrology, tapping,
psychics,
kombucha teas,
join a skeptic
and an optimist.
Once a month to test the latest in alternative living fads and fashions.
Find out what they are about, what works for us, and well, what doesn't.
With your resident skeptic, Paige Muller,
and your resident optimist, Jessica Bash.
Welcome
to Testing the Alternative. Welcome back to another episode of Testing the Alternative. Guys, I'm going to go straight into it because Paige won't let me do anything else. She is getting naked.
Getting naked this month.
Ass naked. We're not talking, like she's going to a spa and getting a massage. No. Or like, going for acupuncture like her granny did and got naked. No. We're calling in the public, butt ass naked.
Woo!
For everyone to see.
But before we jump into nudism, Jess did promise us an update on her stress levels as a result of auricular acupuncture. So Jess, are you feeling less stressed? Did the bead in the ear and the poking, did it help you at all?
So yes, I'd only had 2 days in between to give that update, and I didn't feel like it was enough to give like an accurate update because I was just like, well, who knows what's changed. But now it's been a couple of months, and I can definitely say my anxiety has decreased. I think it might have something to do with the needles. Of course, I have no direct link to proving that, but there is definitely something that has changed. And since that did hit something in my anxiety, I'm kind of linking it back to that. The bead that was in my ear, I used that a couple of times. I kind of still have the action that I do. I don't have the bead anymore. It's gone out of my ear. But sometimes I just kind of squeeze that point when I'm just like, feeling a bit stressed because I don't know, it became like a bit of a habit. And I do feel like it helps. I do feel like it just kind of, whether it's actually the pressure or just now my mind going, okay, relax, because I'm doing a movement that's telling it to relax, something has happened. There seems to be some truth to the science. And like Paige said, generally there's long-term impacts of it. And I do feel like in general, I am more calm. I am more relaxed. We did say my anxiety was quite at a peak at that moment in time. And it definitely has just gradually decreased with all the different alternative healing methods that we've been doing. But we'll give a deeper and bigger update in our next episode, where we will be going through all of our episodes, chatting to a couple of people who have listened to it and answer some of your questions on the long-term impacts. So with that, let's go into this episode.
Okay, I'm really excited. Let me tell you why. But wait, let me tell you why. When we started this podcast, right, Testing the Alternative that came to mind for me, that has always come to mind for me, are the nudist colonies. What goes on in a nudist colony? It's like this mythical place where people just get naked. And everyone seems to have these weird impressions about nudists and what it is. But if you've ever found a nudist, which once or twice I have found nudists, they're all over the world.
What do you mean you found nudists? Like you just
there's a nudist community in South Africa too. They're everywhere.
I'm sure, but did you just like bump into them? How did you come across
chat
them?
to people, guys? I chat to a lot of people in my life, and you just bump into someone, and usually they like to go onto the nudist beaches. That's usually the entrance point, but then they have such a great time. And I've been really keen to just know what happens in these communities. So I have been chatting to Letitia Medina, the president and events coordinator at the Irish Naturist Association, which is the Naturist Association or the Nudist Association here in Ireland, right? Check out their website online, Jessica. It is wild, the amount of events they do. Like, what was it? Last week, there were like 9 events. For members,
goodness.
non-members, whatever, just go get naked.
Okay.
I'm
We can clearly
keen.
see that Paige is very excited to get naked. I, on the other hand, who is usually the optimist, I don't know so
Wouldn't do
much
it,
about
yeah.
the whole naked thing. I haven't come across nudists. I have been to the huge nudist beach in Cape Town. I think it's called Sandy Bay. I did a hike there, but I kept to myself.
You
Saw a
didn't
couple
even
of
go
nudie
look at the
people.
beach.
I
Go
was
for a
hiking
swim.
past it. I was fully
You
clothed. I
literally
didn't
could have
feel,
hiked, done your thing, go have a cool down and come out.
you know, I don't know if it is for me. The first time I came across nudists, so when you grow up, you kind of hear about it. It's kind of that big like
Yeah.
thing is happening, but no one really talks about. And
It's
I remember
the alternative. It's the alternative. That's
Paige is
why
saying
it's
the
the
alternative.
alternative.
Isn't it funny how I go to astrologers and Reiki and do all these
Oh,
things,
what
but
nonsense.
nudist is where I draw the line.
And I'm like, that's the one. That's like the outset. That's where alternative living started.
Absolutely. And can I tell you, quite funny though, you say this, Paige. I do believe you're known as the girl who in grade 3 ran around school naked.
You are not.
So since Paige was, I don't know, how old are you? Like 9?
How do
She
you
has
bring
been
up
a
this
nudist.
story?
It's true, guys.
I'm in
Paige has
horror.
a
I'm in horror.
reputation.
Tell the
of-
whole story at least, you cow.
I think the thing with this story is that I remember it completely different to you.
What do you remember laughing at me? That's all you did. That's all
Absolutely.
you
I
did.
remember we had there was this picnic
cow.
that we had where we got to
Oh, you're already wrong. You're already
You
wrong.
see, I remember it differently. You see, I can't even tell it.
Here's
You know
what
what?
happened.
Then you go ahead.
I'm going to tell the story and I'm going to tell it right. I don't know who brings up this kind of thing mid-recording. Brings it on a person.
It's true though.
This kind of traumatic events. Okay, so this is actually what happened. Everyone, please don't listen to Jessica. She's a liar.
Not true. Not true.
So what had happened we had gone swimming. It was a swimming day and they wanted us to practice swimming. And I'm not a great swimmer as it is. And I hate costumes. I just hate them. They always ride up your ass. They're a nightmare. So we had to go swimming and then everyone was, I'm just body confident. Okay. But anyway, so we were all kind of sitting in the sun. I had dried off already and I was getting hot in the African sun. And all of the other children were just like lying on their towels. So I decided, you know what, I can do this. I do this. I know how to do this. So I put my towel around me and I managed to take my costume off under my towel. And the idea was I was just going to get dressed under this towel because we weren't allowed to go to the bathrooms to change. I had asked the teacher, can I just go and change? I was denied. Forget you, Parkland Primary. I'm looking at you. Could have just let me go to the loo, really. Anyway, that aside, I just managed to get my little undies on, my little panties, when my towel fell down in front of the entire grade 3 class.
Yep.
And my close friends did no more to help me but laugh their asses off, including my cousin in the corner.
What a real
and
friend.
that she just springs it on me.
And then it was the funniest thing. It was the funniest thing because we went to high school like years later, and I think
someone brought it up.
Someone who had been in primary school with us, but then they went to another primary school, and they were like, "Wait a minute, aren't you that girl who ran around the school naked?"
Oh my!
So it stayed with her, and I just find this quite hilarious because here she is once again running around nudies, except in Ireland.
That was not my fault. That was not my fault, okay? But I will say this, though. That aside, I have never had an issue having a nudie swim.
I don't understand this whole nudie thing. I don't understand what people get out of it. I don't know why there is this huge pull to it. So I'm really coming in this as really the skeptic of what the heck and why and what does this actually do for you? Why can't you just go for a swim in a costume? Like what's really the difference here?
I can't tell you yet. Because I'm not used to being naked in front of strangers. So that makes me nervous because for me, the concerning factor is more a safety issue than anything else. I don't know these people. So that's what's holding me back. It's not that I have anything, like I'm not nervous about showing my body. I don't care, but I don't like to be objectified. I don't like to, I think
Mm.
most women would be like, listen, don't look at me, don't stare at me. I'm just doing what I'm doing. I don't mind being
Yeah.
naked, but I don't know who
Exactly.
else is going to be in this space. And the idea of naturism is purely one of non-sexuality. So this is not meant to be, it even says there, if you check out the Naturist Association of Ireland's kind of group, it's non-sexual public nudity. That's what they epitomize. That's what they preach. It's not a thing of going off there to get your rocks off or anything like that. It's literally, we go, we hang out, we go for a nudie swim. So the experience I'm going for is a sunset or a nighttime swim in an area called Sea Point here in Ireland. So from my understanding, we're actually going to wait for the sun to go down completely and for it to be dark. And then we're going to take our clothes off.
Do you know if it's legal to be naked at that beach, or does it not really matter in Ireland? I know in South Africa, there's very certain beaches that you can go to.
Yeah. I haven't seen a beach demarcated as naturist. If you go onto this website, you can see that they have beaches like marked off on the map. But if you Google those beaches, they don't say these are naturist beaches per se. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to ask that question and find out what the rules are.
The first time I really came across like someone, I haven't met them, but who I knew was a nudist, is I was applying for an au pair job in Spain.
Yeah.
They then said, well, actually, no, we're nudists. So like we're going to be naked a lot around the house. And I was just like, I cannot imagine sitting down to dinner with like my host parents or whatever, completely naked. I found that was uncomfortable. So I wonder, to what extent do people do this in their private homes actually, or do they just go when there's an event?
You know what I mean? I think if you are the kind of person who just doesn't like clothes and you're in your own home, I say rip it off, man. You live there, like you pay the rent, do the things. If you have an au pair in the house, that's different, because how do they feel about it? Fair play. You've got someone else in the house.
Sometimes being naked is great, but when I'm eating dinner, I don't particularly want to be naked. I don't know. I think that's a weird thing, right?
That's the other thing. So, I mean, if you go look on this group, the events range from like walks outdoors in parks and all of that kind of jazz. You can do an outdoor walk. Cool. Then they range for indoor activities, because obviously Ireland. So they've got pools and saunas and venues that they actually book off for when it's rainy and cold and miserable. And you can go for a sauna pool day and be naked. But then they've got things like dances. I don't want to be touched. Don't listen. Even when I'm dressed, I'm not a huge touchy person. There are a few people who are allowed to cuddle me, yourself included, who are allowed to like touch me.
I don't know if I need to cuddle you while you're naked though.
No, but you know what I mean? I just generally, I don't like to be touched. So the idea of like, now we're going to nudist dance, that to me is like, no, whoa, don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I can get like, I think everyone likes a little bit of the thrill of a skinny dip, you know, that's really exciting. It's like, woo. But then again, the dancing, what benefit is there really? I mean, there must be, because people are doing it, but I don't know. And I just can't think of what it would possibly do for me, but I haven't experienced it. So really, who knows? I'm really fascinated to find out what is the, you know, like drive for people to just go, hey, let's go to a dance party completely naked.
I have a question for you, and I think it's an important one.
Okay.
When I told you I was doing this, you said power to me, but you don't want to do it. Why not?
Yeah. You know what? Maybe it is a body confidence thing. Like if I had to take everything off, I'd be concerned and self-conscious that people are like looking at me. But also, I don't know.
Is it because you don't think they'll like the look of your body, or you don't like the look of your body, or
no?
What is
I don't
it?
even
Are you
know
afraid
if
they'll
that's
see your cellulite?
No.
Or
That's
is it like,
I don't want them.
Is it more a safety concern where I'm like, I don't know you guys.
I don't think
please don't
everyone
be
has
creeps.
I don't think everyone has a right to see my lady bits, and that there are certain people like you, when you say in terms of touching, for me,
don't touch me.
It's only certain people who I'd want to see that part of me, I guess. And psychologically, I have no idea why. Like, I really don't know why. And maybe it's because I actually only have a limited amount of information as to what this is. And maybe because it has possibly been stigmatized, you know, throughout my lifetime. So that could actually be impacting it. So automatically I'm just going, yeah, that's a bit too far. Like, what the heck? But I don't know. I haven't really thought of it. But naturally, my first response is just not for me. So I'm very curious to see how it works for you, because maybe that changes it. And I go, you know what? Hitting up the nudie beach in Cape Town very soon.
Yeah, so my concern is not the other nudists who are doing this or how they look. My concern is not me or how I look. I'm fine, whatever. If you don't like the way my porridge thighs look, don't look at them. You know what I mean? It's not your problem. My concern is truly, like, you know, in a bunch of apples, there's always that weird little misshapen apple.
Yeah.
That's a little bit creepy. Those kinds of apples have given me issues in the past in a big way. So I'm hoping
that
as to not find anyone who makes, because the voyeurists who are, you know, I'm glad we're waiting for the sun to go down and we're just going to go swim under the moon. It's great. But if there's someone else in the event who is a little bit unkosher, that's going to make me kind of lose my glow for the whole experience overall.
What does your partner think of this?
So I asked him first. I said, listen, before I even contacted the association, I went, listen, because I have a rule. He's not allowed to be naked in front of other people. I think he's too delicious. He's like a little caramel drop of deliciousness. So he's not allowed to. He's just not allowed to. He may not. Sorry.
That's so funny.
It's done for you. You can't. You're too pretty.
Oh gosh.
Everyone's gonna love you too much.
What if he loves it?
Oh, Matthew Bower will not love it. It's fine. I don't think it was a risk, to be honest. Because the thing is, I suffer from like chronic overconfidence. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my problem. So when you're overly confident, you will do this kind of shit because you don't care.
And then
but
she
Matthew
attracts.
does not suffer from overconfidence.
Yeah. Well, me too. Neither do I. So I'm also like, oh, that's a bit of an uncomfortable space to venture in. But he was totally fine with you doing it. He was like,
go ahead. He says, listen, if you want to. He's been teasing me like forever since I decided to do it. He's like on and off. Him and my father, but they're wearing me down with the nudie jokes. Can't skip
give
a
us
toe
one.
out of line.
Give us one.
The thing I just said about toe out of line would be like, you'll be stepping more than just a toe.
It's funny though, because I think from now on you are going to be known as the nudist of our group.
I wonder if I will do it. There's going to be a moment there.
No doubts in my mind that I know you're going to do it. I don't even have a doubt. I think if I was doing it, we'd have oh no, we're not so sure. She might back out in the last minute. This might be one of the most interesting episodes I feel like that we've done, especially for me, just because there's not a lot of information out there. Paige has come across 2 nudists in her life. I have never. I mean, please reach out to me if you're a nudist. I'd love to have a conversation about.
Yeah, what are the benefits in it for you? What do you draw from it? That's what I'd like to know from everybody. What is your personal benefit, if you're willing to share? That's another thing about this episode that I must say before we kick it off, is I'm going to be very delicate to make sure I'm not including, you know, people's names unless they're comfortable with it. Obviously, Letitia's been chatting to me. She's the president. Her name's listed on the site, so she's fine with it. But I'll be very careful as to not reveal people's identities. I'm not going to bring in a camera, so you'll see our promo reels will be a little bit more conservative, because obviously you guys are getting naked and it's a trusting space, and I don't want to be the kind of person who's just shoving equipment into people's faces in this space either.
Yeah.
So I will do the best I can to bring you as much of the experience as possible. Cool.
So, should we throw you in?
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm getting all nervous again. I am walking to the beach. It is not actually a nudie beach, this one. This one's open to the public, so I have no idea how this works. I am more nervous about everybody seeing my body than I am about seeing everyone else or anyone bothering me. These are the things that are now occupying my mind as I take the 5-minute walk from my bus stop to the beach itself. I have so many questions around whether or not, naturism is a community, a lifestyle, whether or not they get grief because of this. I have been chatting to people about this, and the reactions to the fact that I'm going to go do this have been stark. Not stalkers, but stark. I'm about to be stalkers. Okay, I've got to go. It's just too much. Wish me luck, everybody. Okay, Letitia, so you are events coordinator and president of the Naturist Association here in
Irish,
Ireland.
yeah, perfect. Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Okay, that seems like a big job. I've seen some of your events. You guys have a lot of events.
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah, and we have more members than ever, around
Really?
600 members in Ireland. It's not that many if you compare with other countries, but it's understandable because...
given the size of the island, I think it's very impressive.
Well, British Naturalists, for example, they have 9,000 members.
Yeah. And what does it mean to be a naturist? Is it a lifestyle, a community?
I suppose it's all. So we have all types of people, and there are people who define themselves as naturists. Other people would say nudists. Other people would say they just go naked, or sauna goers, or the proper sauna procedure. Naked swimming, skinny dippers, relax, everything goes.
I've been a skinny dipper since I was a child, but
just sunbathers, no tan lines, etc.
Okay, so there's no difference between nudism, naturism.
Whatever you want
term
to think,
sensitive.
it's just personal choice.
Okay.
So whatever there are people who really would like to live 24/7 naked.
Yes.
Other people just like to go to a sauna and be naked in the sauna, because I don't know if you are aware, in Ireland it's not possible, apparently.
Oh,
because Irish people don't go for the real experience of being naked in the sauna. But other people just go for the outdoor experience, beach meetups, skinny dipping, etc.
What is it for you?
For me, it's all that plus getting to know interesting people, I suppose.
True.
Because unconventional people sometimes, because someone who goes out and is looking for us, so it's looking for this kind of experiences, somebody a little bit different from the norm.
That's true.
Especially in Ireland, where people don't dare doing things because they might be recognized by their neighbors, etc. So for me, just doing cool things.
Yeah.
We have other activities like, for example, naked dancing. I love that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it is. And we might organize naked dining this weekend. So in Cork, it was the World Naked Bike Ride.
Oh, yeah.
That was not exactly organized by INA, but we were supporting. So it's a protest, a naked protest on the vulnerability of cyclists on the road. But it's combined. This weekend was combined with other events, like naked photography installations, or a naked pub quiz.
So if it were up to you, you'd do most of your things naked? Most of your day-to-day life?
Me personally, I don't like sweating on clothes.
Okay.
That's my take on this.
Okay.
So if I'm cold...
Is that your reason for being a naturist?
If I'm cold, I will put on clothes.
Oh, okay.
So, but I cannot enjoy... Well, I never swim other than naked.
Okay.
I never go to the sauna if I cannot be naked.
Okay.
So I'm looking for those experiences in the nudes, because to me, they don't make any other sense.
And you mentioned here in Ireland that people can be a little bit stuck in their box. They're a little bit more afraid to try these kind of things in public.
It's a small country mindset.
So, you're afraid of what your neighbor's going to say.
Yeah, so you don't feel so anonymous. And many people go to Spain, to nudist beaches, and then they can enjoy that freedom.
Yeah. I mean, we've met one of your members here who said exactly the same thing. He's lived here, but he's never done it here before, so much. So that's interesting. Do you find that you guys get a little bit of stigma this side of the pond?
Well, I don't, but maybe some people do. Yeah. If you are curious about naturism and you live in Ireland, go to the blog, because it's a multi-voiced blog with different stories, different
people's perspectives,
experiences.
And fun.
First time for an Irish person approaching its lifestyle, or also reviews of places. Some of our members have been to, or you'll find out.
I mean, here in Leinster, there are 10 beaches that are official, like nudist beaches, essentially.
No, we don't have any official.
Oh, they're not official.
No, officially nudist beaches. It doesn't exist as a concept in the sense that Well, there are no signs
Okay.
where it is explicitly allowed to be naked, but according to the law, to the Irish law, it's not an offense to be naked on the beach for the purpose of
Really?
skinny dipping. So if you're not alarming anybody and you just go skinny dipping or sunbathing or doing
Okay.
something, especially in a group, there's no way to prove that you were alarming other people.
Okay, so you guys have beaches you prefer because they're a bit more.
Yeah, there are
I
beaches.
mean, more than that, I can add something. Hi, I'm Jose, one of the members.
Hi, Jose.
And just more than that, there are beaches where people are used to see naked people.
Okay.
Started, for example, this one north of Killarney Beach,
Yeah.
White Rock. So at the beginning, there were a group of people swimming naked, skinny dipping in the mornings. And then during the day, it was accepted that it will be textile. But since the pandemic, what happened is that more naturists were going there, and that a lot of local tourism, because we were not able to travel abroad. Then people started going to that beach, and then what happened is there were always naked people the whole day. And then we live in organized qigong and yoga in the beach on Sundays, and that was featured in the Irish Times and the Irish Independent. So people started to assuming that White Rock naturist,
Okay.
particularly the north side of White Rock.
That's another question, Jose, because I mean, like, I've spoken to a few people, told them I'm going to try it out to do this with you guys today. And all of them were kind of thinking about it in a more sexual manner.
No,
and it's a huge misunderstanding around
it's
it.
a
Do you
huge
find it's a
misunderstanding. In
problem?
fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what happens, and then it's if, for example, if a person is dressed with suggestive dresses,
Yeah.
and then you might ended up looking, instead of looking at the eyes, you look at
Something else.
somewhere else. But if you're naked, then you
All of
look
a
at the
sudden
eyes.
you're
You don't have
paying
anywhere to. You don't get that suggestion that we are all human beings. Sometimes
Mm.
time to feel, oh, what I'm looking at. Well, when you're naked, nothing of that happens. It's not sexual at all. It's hard to believe, because when you see a sensually dressed woman, for example, your eyes go when they shouldn't. But if you see a naked woman,
All
you
of
will
a sudden.
respect. You see,
Okay.
you see
And you came
nature,
here with
and then
your
you
wife today,
see.
and you
Yeah.
guys do this together.
So-
How long have you been doing this?
For this sea point, it started last year.
Okay. And naturism
the sunset
generally?
naturist, in my case, was since Spencer Tunick visit Ireland in 2009,
2009.
and then the feeling of the rain
Mm.
in there, because there was this big group of naked people photographed, but it was blessing that was raining, so the feeling of the rain and the water in the beach and
Sounds
everything,
awesome.
that's the thing that converted me. Say.
Oh, wow.
And since then, I've not used swimming top.
Okay. And in
And-
your
and-
opinion, what are the benefits?
Well, the benefits are, first, you can get into the water at any time,
Mm.
and then you don't even need a towel. You
Yeah.
need nothing to swim and to improvise. Saunas, they make absolutely no point to be dressed in a sauna. Then things like naked dining, or I'm not strictly keen on that one. Even I've been a couple of times, but they say, well, that's not necessarily a place where you should be naked. Where it's the obvious to be naked.
Yeah.
But there are places in nature, for example, you see a river, you take off your clothes, you swim in the
enjoy
river,
it.
you lay down in the grass, you get dry in the grass, and then you put your clothes back and then keep walking.
So for you, it's a
So
nature
for me,
thing.
it's
almost
it's
an
not
outdoor-
being naked the whole day, but do things that be in connection with nature. So I wouldn't say no swimming tops at all, because they don't make sense to me, because it's for cover modesty. They don't
Yeah.
help at all.
Also on the beach, they're a bit of a pain, to be honest.
Yeah,
Sand gets in
exactly.
there.
That's what I mean.
It's a bit,
Then
it's a bit
all
annoying.
other naturist activities in that way, I obviously are not only respected, I've been in some of them, but then not necessarily my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's more, I'm more
Okay.
into the
Is there anything you
the
want people to
outdoors.
know about naturism? Maybe misconceptions or just something you want to share?
That it's not sexual. And I would say to male people, don't worry about erections. They won't happen. It might happen, but it's very rare, because it is non-sexual. So your mind changes, and then you're
Yeah.
totally relaxed. And that's well known in the naturist community. But some people are afraid,
I
and
didn't
they
even
don't
think
know.
of asking that, you see.
And I say, no, don't worry. No one will look at you.
Yeah.
No one will judge you. You're a human being. They always look at your eye. in your eyes. They always, another thing that the people are more open. They talk to each other more than in a textile environment. They feel everyone equals. They don't prejudge on clothing or anything, and the sense of community is second to none.
Letitia, I just thought of a question.
You want to
Oh.
interview them? They also
Hi guys.
here for the first time.
I'm new too. How's it going,
Nice to
Paige?
meet you.
Pleasure. So my hands are already freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be delighted
South
to get in the
African,
water. It won't be that
absolutely
cold.
freezing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. So you know when I started chatting to you, what happens when a girl's on their period and they want to come to an event? Do you put in a tampon? Do you skip that event?
You do whatever you want to do. I mean, what would you do if you go to a swimming pool?
I put
and
in
you
a
still
tampon.
want?
You put in a tampon?
Yeah.
Okay, because I skipped. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I've
For
totally
example,
bailed on you.
So, for example, you go to nudist resorts. So I
Yeah.
go every summer. I go to nudist resorts for occasions,
Okay.
and so you'll see
Love
many
that.
women who are wearing something, so shorts
Okay,
or something.
okay. So just something
So
because
you
they
can
don't like
assume they
tampons.
might be on the
Okay.
period, yeah. But
Oh,
on the period,
right.
yeah, it's just a
So you make a plan, as women have always done. We make a plan.
yeah. But a tampon is fine, yeah.
Okay, that's
Nobody
cool.
would say anything.
Do you find that people do complain that you like have an issue with it? You mentioned the law says it's fine as
what
long
I
as you're
find
not
is difficult to get venues
Yeah,
because of
initially.
there are different factors.
and
because-
opinions.
Yeah, well, that they might think that the insurance is not okay with that.
Yeah,
The lifeguards might not want to work for us.
fair. Okay,
They might not
fine.
have a slot available.
All right.
That's often the case
Okay.
because it's quite difficult. There are not enough swimming pools in Ireland.
Okay. And then my father has to have me ask this. Do you ever have sexual harassment issues? Personally, I spoke to the South African naturist.
No,
Was
no.
never a problem.
No, because if people come for the wrong reasons,
Yes.
they'll get bored very quickly because there's nothing.
And
There's
you guys
nothing
essentially
going on.
protect
So
each other.
they, after
That's
one time, they already see that's not for them.
Mm.
So no, that's not
Cool. I forgot my towel. I think I'm going to.
You don't need a towel.
regret
I don't
this.
like towels, so I don't use it.
Oh,
To dry-
okay.
I
No.
like to.
I'm just
air
going to
dry.
throw this back on.
Well, we can share one. We have a
Oh,
spare
no,
one
it's
if you-
fine. Don't worry about it. I'm
No, you
Yeah,
can
I'm
use
one
mine.
daughter
You'll be able
out
to
and I
use
brought
mine.
extra clothes.
I have two towels with me, honestly.
Oh, thank you. It's very sweet of you. You guys are so nice. I can't believe it.
Two is one and one is not.
I moved to Ireland 6 months ago and I've been struggling to find people to chat to and friends. It seems like a really awesome community.
If I can add, it's not about the other people being naked. It's
Yeah.
just about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I
The
was
other
actually
are just a
coming here
backdrop, just a
more nervous about everyone seeing me naked than me seeing everyone naked.
yeah, but
That's-
people are not staring at each
Yeah.
other, so we don't care about the others. It's
Yeah.
just you're grateful to them for being there and for they are also naked. So
Yeah.
you are one
You're a
person
community.
in So it's just a backdrop. It's just people enabling each other to be free, and it's about body acceptance, self acceptance. So it's just by definition is non-sexual.
Yeah.
But we don't want to emphasize that in particular because it's just obvious to us.
Yeah.
And social nudity just for the purpose of being we are all at the same level is very equalizing, very
Yeah.
democratic feeling.
So I just got home. Listen, it was actually fabulous. Oh my god. No, it was actually really cool and probably the place where I've met the nicest people. Jess, as I live and breathe, the nicest people are the nudists. They were all friendly. This couple who's only their second time going drove me home. Like, really fucking nice people. So I'm a little bit cold because obviously the sea was a bit cold, but super refreshing. As after you get used to the shock, obviously, of going in past your waist and then past your chest. But yeah, it was really cool. Just a heads up. Actually, I would go again.
Right, guys. So that was Paige on her experience, and we heard a little bit from the community members as well, which I think was really interesting, and some things were mind-blowing as well. But before we get into that, we couldn't actually see or even hear properly what Paige did because obviously she was in the water and she was completely naked, so there are some privacy issues. So Paige, why don't you just tell us what happened, how it went down?
As you can hear from the voice notes I've used, I was nervous, like everyone else gets nervous. I was very nervous going into it. And there was a stage Jess, I shit at you not. There was a stage where everyone's getting naked, right? So we're on the beach. First, I struggled to find the nudists, and I was looking at everyone. I was like, everyone's still dressed, you know. So you don't want to be naked alone. That's the funny thing. I think nudism needs to be a community event, because even the people I spoke to chatted about, you actually want a group with you so that you don't feel like you're a weirdo, essentially. So it is a group sport, pretty much.
Paige is just voice noting me going, I don't think we can do this episode because I don't know where anyone is. I don't know if I'm in the right place.
None of them
I don't know.
It's so hard to describe now so late on, but I had gone to the far side of the beach, and at one stage I saw these girls swimming. Now this is Ireland, guys. It's cold, but it was summer, and they were derobing and shit, right? And I thought, okay, maybe these are the nudists. Maybe this is it. So I went to them and I asked them, hi, are you Letitia? And they're like, no, dude, we're not Letitia.
Yeah, good thing you asked Letitia instead of, hey, are you guys the nudists?
And just start like undressing myself. So it's clearly a group sport. But eventually I found Letitia and she WhatsApped me. She was like, hey, where are you? So I walked down the beach. And funnily enough, as you heard in the recording, there aren't nudist beaches in Ireland. But there aren't laws against being nude publicly either, as long as you're not disrupting anyone. So what they do for these are public beach swims, essentially, and on pretty like busy beaches. So they wait for the sun to set, for it to be properly dark. And in summer here, that can be like about 9 o'clock, sometimes even 10 o'clock. So by the time I was going, sunset was about 9 o'clock. So we hung out. I did my interview. That's what you guys would have heard. We chatted. And then we were going to the water together, to a place where it's nice and easy to get in and we can all just chill together.
And at this point, you're naked.
We're sitting on no. We're sitting on this concrete curb and everyone's getting naked. And I'm dicking around with my shoelace. Honestly, I'm just messing with my shoelace, taking my sweet time, to be honest. I'm like, are we doing this? Okay, we're actually doing this. And then I saw, okay, everyone's pretty much naked. Now, what struck me is that I had no intent and no design to look at anyone's body parts. Instantly, I was like, whatever, you're nude. I can just peripherally see that you're naked, but I'm not like staring at anyone's anything because I have no design to do so, So then I take off my stuff and I just assume everyone's got the same thing I do. So no one's staring at you at all. They're all chatting to you and walking in, and now we're focused on the water. We get in and we were just chilling around in the water up here to our shoulders. It's cold as hell. It was fucking cold, but it was exhilarating. And then we were chatting, and I was chatting rugby to the one guy. I was chatting geopolitics to the other guy. And we're just talking. There were about 12 of us at the event, men and women, all varying body types, all varying ages, all friendly as hell. Really, really interesting people. Wives and husbands, dating couples, people who had left their families at home because they enjoyed and their families don't. All walks of life.
Listening to the recording, you don't only have Irish people, you had people from all walks of life, all different continents. And they did, listen, I really enjoyed listening to the interviews. These people really brightened up my day just listening to.
They were so fun.
Exactly. No, and they sound like so much fun. So, okay. So it sounds like you pretty much just had like a normal social event, minus the fact that you're butt-ass naked in the water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you stay covered in the water? Did you move around a lot? Or were you just...
I went for a swim, essentially. So, I'm not the greatest swimmer, so it's not like I did freestyle, because then I would have just looked like I was drowning with moon to the moon, So I did kind of like a paddle out with my arms, keeping my ass under the water as much as I could. I didn't rush to get in. If you're thinking, got naked like they do in the, the American movies and then jumped in like a frat girl, that was not the case. Yeah, I went for a leisurely because it was fucking cold too. So I was like, put toe in, cold. Then you get to the Guam area, your delicates. Now you got to submerge those, and just like a normal swim, it's cold. So you're going, ooh, you know what I mean? Holding on the railing, giving a little squeal. But it was pretty, and everyone was just kind of like submerged, doing their own thing, floating around. You go chat to a human here, chat to a human there. This is just the event I also chose. which is
Right.
interesting. You know, one of the guys in the recording also said that he didn't understand like dining naked. And I get that because they do a whole spectrum of things.
Yeah.
You know, you've got boundaries, and the boundaries are what you set for yourself, I suppose.
And I say, I don't know if I would do the hiking naked, because Paige and I went on a hike in Mauritius, and my pants tore. It was a really hectic hike. Okay. And my pants tore right by my butt. My ass was burning. It was not pleasant to be naked. That was the one time I was like, clothes are so necessary. So I would put a little bit of a pin in the hiking and go, what kind of hiking?
What I will tell you is
So it's
this. I
interesting.
walked away from it feeling absolutely stunning about myself. I walked away from it thinking this is such an epic community. Like I'd found a group of really fun people. And you guys know, coming into Ireland, that's been a bit tough for me. You know what I mean? I'm still finding groups and all of that jazz. So I walked away going, these are some cool people. And this lovely couple drove me home. And they were so sweet, and they chatted to me, and we bonded, yeah. And they found like, you know, everyone's already, they're always wearing the same clothes to work, and they're not allowed to be individuals. So the two of them, they're just a dating couple. They decided to try this. And it was only their second time there, and they were having a blast. They're like, they're in, this is it. So I found that really interesting, and they drove me home, and they're so sweet.
That's really cool. And I mean, so Paige, for me, it makes sense that the people participating in the actual naturist or nudist activities are accepting of everyone. But you were on a public beach. So did you feel like other people were looking at you? Did you get any sense of that? Or were you just so absorbed in what was happening that you didn't even pay attention to anything else?
So there were other people. There were actually dressed people swimming a ways away, like just over there. So you could see their spotty, like they're there.
Hold on. Did you see how she said dressed people? Oh.
Dressed people.
Those ones.
The mortals who choose clothing.
Oh my gosh.
The mortals who choose clothing were over there, and we saw them. And then I think there were like one or two who walked past. But when you're in the water, it's not clear that you're naked. You know what I mean? And my assumption is that people first walking past don't assume that people in the water are naked anyway. So as far as activities go, but that's the thing, the activity I chose, I don't think a skinny dip is that uncommon anyway. You know what I mean? On a public beach, yes, you wouldn't overtly notice it. So it didn't bother me when they walked past, because I was like, you know, what you don't know won't kill you. And when we were outside the water getting dressed again, obviously it's quite hard to get your clothes back on because you're a bit damp. Then when people walked past, I was a little bit, you know, get my towel around me, but everyone else wasn't. So the fact that it is non-sexual is hugely important here. It's like if someone, and I'll get to this because eventually, so you know this, Jess, I've been stalked pretty badly in my past to the point where I actually had to get someone removed from my university because he was threatening my friends and stuff. So any kind of attention that isn't really invited has a tendency to freak me out. I don't like particularly on social media, I don't like people bombarding me without essentially my go-ahead, my encouragement, or my permission. And after the event, there was one member of the event who did start messaging me, not anything sexual, to be fair. Like he messaged me to invite me and Matthew to come to another one. And I was like, we're not really those friends yet. If I'd happened to come to another one, we keep chatting, then that's fine. That would have been fine. I didn't do anything about that. That was okay. Then he sent me a picture. I think he must have been at one of the events, and he sent me a picture of a sunset. And mind you, I didn't respond to the last message. So there I was off. I was like, no, guys. So I think the biggest thing about naturism and nudism in my mind is the accepting community, the way everyone's looking at you. The outside world isn't going to understand it. And that is why we're all so body conscious. We're so used to perfect people being shown to us. And this is a group of people who are accepting you, you know, fat rolls. My thighs look like fucking porridge, guys. They do. That's just cellulite everywhere. But to have a group of 12 people just go, yo, dude, you're awesome. And we all look so different, and we're big, and this one's got big boobs, and this one's got a big tummy, and this one's got wide thighs and it doesn't matter, that's really important. But what's really important is that no one commented on my appearance while I was there either, to me.
Yeah.
That was really important.
And that's come out of the studies as one of the biggest benefits of being part of the nudist community, is this acceptance of your body, growth in self-esteem and confidence, and just embracing who you are and loving who you are and showing it to the world, and not being worried about all these things that we try to hide with clothes more often than not, you know. So it has been linked to people gaining more confidence just by going out and doing that. And it makes so much sense, because if you look at and if you look at like activities to love yourself more, one of them is to look at yourself in the mirror and completely just like look at yourself and love the parts you don't like. And I almost think this is like that next step of, okay, well, now you've looked at yourself, but then it's actually going out there into the world and going, hey, this is me. I'm not going to cover it up. It's amazing.
You know what I think it is too? It's like there's this assumption that the nudists are like just, I don't know, very confident people who look very good, right? For me, that was the important thing, is that it wasn't actually the case. It's not like we're all a bunch of 20-something-year-olds with perfect toned abs, and like these are normal people with normal body types, and it feels good to just feel normal. Do you know what I mean? I know, like, we all have something we look in the mirror, like my cellulite on my thighs, right? I think the bottom of me is built like a horse. It's super sturdy. Like a hurricane couldn't blow my ass over. But to go out and be like, here's my fat ass, and everyone else be like, well, here's my giant boobs. And it's all good. And it's not like you have to all of a sudden love those points of yourself, but it's just coming to terms with, that's fine. You know, it's good. It's normal. It felt good. It feels good to just go, you know what, this isn't brilliant, but it's good. It's good enough.
It's really sad, I think, that we have to get to the point where we're completely naked to almost be loving and accepting of ourselves and others. I find that really sad, because another big benefit that has come out is just the community of the naturists and the nudists. And I totally agree with that. There is such a big lonely epidemic that we're going through in the world right now, and it's been getting bigger and bigger. And really, community is so important for your mental health, your physical health, just emotional health. And I do think that's something that we're lack in this world a lot. So I love that aspect of it. I wish we didn't have to get naked to do it, because I am kind of looking at it going, I wish I didn't have to. Paige's friend and my friend were really close to her, and Paige left us. She went to Ireland. She no longer loves us.
I did not leave you. God, I told you guys, she is so dramatic. I am sitting right here. I left her. Christ.
So far away. But we've gotten to a point where our friendship group has gotten smaller and smaller, just because, you know, life changes, people move, things happen. And we've been wanting to really find this new community for ourselves. And it has been such a difficult thing. Like, it is so hard. We try new activities, we try new hobbies, we're doing all these different things where you're supposed to meet people, but it just seems, even in those scenarios, people just kind of like keep to themselves. So hearing that there is this community where you got to talk to someone about the rugby and all these things is so great.
Really
because
nice.
You're bonding, you're finding that community. Nice. And I really just wish we didn't have to be naked to do it, but maybe.
But you know what else struck me was that we're quite delicate. So, I mean, I told you now my history of, you know, a little bit nervous around social media and the way people perceive you or message you or get into your life, particularly online. And that shouldn't have been a big deal, but it is one of those things that if you go into this experience, in my opinion, if you're brave enough to take that first step and you have a good experience, it'll be brilliant. But because, you know, we're also delicate around our appearance and we've been shown all of this stuff and what everybody should look like all of the time, we're actually very insecure as a people, just people generally. So if you have a negative experience or the people around you, I think the connotations particularly of people not in the community can be very detrimental to getting into the community. I mean, you mentioned to me that you thought, Letitia, just didn't know how people see this. Like, she was in denial, but she's also been in the positive community for so long, you know, where people are just accepting her.
Absolutely. And that's great. And when I was listening to her interview bit, you did ask, do you think that some people don't join because of the stigma that lies against, you know, the nudist community? And she was like, no. But if you do look at the research, it is hugely stigmatized. And there's a lot of different reasons to it, right? Quite interestingly, nudism dates back to like historic ancient times, which makes sense. But it only really started picking up in Europe in the 19th century, and particularly in Germany, which I found interesting. And really, the reason they brought it up is that they found that they got more access to vitamin D because they weren't fully clothed. And we all know Europe doesn't have, you know, a lot of sun. And that it just made them more strong in their immune system. And they were free. They weren't confined to these societal expectations. But then, of course, the resistance came where other people were going, oh, well, that's not really right. We need to wear this. We need to do this. We need to do that. We don't need to see all these other things. So what's interesting, though, is that there is a large community of people who do it, but there's still, from the 19th century, the stigma that's been carried on throughout society that, you know, people who participate in these activities are a little bit loony, you know. And there is that sexual part to it that you mentioned, Paige, which I think will always be a concern, I think, for women in general, but probably also men.
It honestly is. And if you speak to any of them, it is a non-sexual space. It's not a hookup vibe. It's not supposed to be a hookup vibe. If it becomes a situation where a member is a problem, they get rid of the member.
Yeah.
They oust the person from the environment. They're actually very strict about it. So it is a non-sexual space. And even though someone started to message me, I don't think he had any intentions. I'm just a little bit sensitive myself. Even though that was a case, there was a women's event that I still would have been perfectly happy going to, an all-women's event. And the fact that it is, and I think it needs to strongly remain a non-sexual environment, is important. It's really important to the entire experience. And that's why I say the perceptions that people have outside, when those perceptions manage to get into the group, it becomes quite toxic. So I don't think it's nudists who are the problem, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's the other people who try and infiltrate that group for malicious means who then become a problem and create a toxic environment then for other people who are in it. But if they manage to keep those people out, as it looks like they're pretty much doing, like it could actually be a family.
Do you think you are a full-time nudist now?
Full-time nudist, no. I still sleep in jams. Like, you know, some people sleep in the nudes. I don't like that. I can't get to sleep. But you know, I honestly feel better about my body having gone. Truth.
Good.
Even once.
Good. And that's amazing because that has been linked to one of the biggest benefits of it.
Yeah.
And what I found really funny from the interview part is how a lot of the participants were like, you know, there's no use for a towel. Who needs a bathing suit? That's such a useless item. Like, who needs that? And I found that hilarious. And it was such an interesting, you know, outlook to me, who I quite like my clothes. I found it to be a creative expression as well in the way I dress up. And sometimes when I rock an outfit, I feel like I can take over the world as well. So yeah, it's interesting to see how they have a completely different view on clothing items to what you would expect society to have, right?
So to me, if I'm walking past a pond and I want to swim, I don't see a problem with just going stark.
No,
mind you, it's easier in a group or when there's no one there.
I've done it on hikes where we didn't plan to swim. We didn't even know there was going to be like a dam or anything. You're just hiking. And we're going up into the mountains in the Cape, and there was a reservoir, and it was damn hot, and there was no one around. And I was like, well, I'm going to just get in. But I stayed in my, you know, my underwear. So I didn't go full nudies. I kind of just decided, you know, just in case someone does come along, it's not going to be that awkward situation. Because I actually don't know what I would do.
You're tickling the underscrotum of being a nudist right there, honey.
No, No, I know. And it is
what it is.
exhilarating. And we've all, well, let's not say all, but I think majority of people have skinny dipped, tried to skinny dip, done that
Yeah.
whole like, ooh, let's
Yeah.
just go and do it. And it is exhilarating. It is freeing. You do feel good. I feel like everyone has tried that. I kind of agree with what the other guy said. I don't think I could do a dinner where we're naked.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Or cooking.
like
Just
dancing,
burn your
cooking, the hiking. I don't know what I would do if I was hiking and just came across a bunch of naked people. I'm not sure how I would
keep
respond.
walking. What is it with you dressed humans? Can we just talk about this? Why do you feel the urge to stare at naked people?
I don't think I would
Found a group of
stare.
naked
I would
people.
probably,
If they're not having an orgy, just keep rolling. Like, what is it?
because I'd probably think they're about to
What's
have an orgy.
going
Like,
on?
damn, what's happening? Yeah, in the forest.
They're not. It wouldn't, but honest to God, it wouldn't bother me if I saw like an entire family picnic of 10 people, totally stalkers, sitting on blankets outside, eating their snacks. It wouldn't even bother me. I'd be like, picnic, moving on.
This confirms something from our astrology episode where Paige is meant to be the more unconventional one, and I'm meant to be more traditional. And we didn't think that because Paige grew up more traditional than I did, and I grew up like unconventional. But this is just proving I still have that traditional like outlook, and you're like, oh, who cares? Whatever.
If you're thinking about doing this, though, there's some research done by Dr. Kun West from the University of London in the Department of Sociology. And this also links quite firmly to psychology. So everything you will find in the research is around those two fields. But he did a study of over 850 British people of varying ages, ethnicities, and religions who spend time naked, usually on topless beaches or polar swims or those kinds of things. And he essentially gave them surveys. And the surveys showed that the longer they practiced nudism, the happier they were. That's what the survey showed. And it also showed that most of the participants who did these kind of things had improved body image, perceptions of themselves, better self-esteem, and overall life satisfaction. So they get a high from going into it initially, and then over time, the longer they do it, the better their body image, their self-esteem, all of this thing is so just from accepting yourself.
Body positive movements. It just seems to be that and community being the biggest highlights that come out of this. There is a lot saying that it just overall reduces anxiety and stress and therefore increases your mental health. Like you said, overall, a longer time, people are just generally more satisfied with life. And these are just reports from people doing it. We don't know why. What is the reason for that?
The problem with nudism are the external myths. So the overt sexuality thing, the fact that it must be based on sexuality, that is a problem that can hinder people from getting into it or enjoying it because, like me, they get a little bit twitchy and nervous. So there's that. Then there's stigmas around, as Jessica said, people being weird as a result. These are external stigmas. Once you're in the community, you naturally don't feel that about yourself. But trying to get in, that can be the experience I had of people teasing. My coworkers are not usually interested in what I'm doing on my podcast. This time they were like, how was your swim? How was your swim? I was like, it was great. It was actually really good. I think they were expecting me to say it was traumatizing, and it wasn't.
And I think possibly the fact that people think those who are in the nudist community are weird is because there is a lack of understanding, but there's also that fear, I think, from people in the nudist community to come out and even talk about it. Paige, you had some people who refused to talk to you about it. And a lot of the accounts of research that I did, they would give a first name and that's it. They wouldn't give any other name. And that just, again, goes back to this huge stigma that is against them and the fear that if someone in their lives, whether it be work or bosses or family or whatever, there's going to be this judgment towards them. So I think that is also just a huge barrier to even the people who are currently practicing nudism are facing, is the judgment from other people. And so while there are all these amazing positive benefits for it, I think they're also still being held back because of what society thinks about it and the lack of understanding. I know I have definitely, you asked me in the beginning, why wouldn't I do it? And I
Would you
said,
do
well, it's
it?
probably because there is some stigma to it and probably something about the body. And like, I'm not sure if I want people to see that. And will I look at other people? And I haven't tried it yet, but just listening to your experience and listening to the other people, it's definitely given a better understanding of what happens and
Yeah.
what it could add to my life if I tried to do it. And that's been great. It's been great to see that it hasn't got all these myths and stigmas and weird things going on that I originally thought happened, you know. I actually might try it, although I probably have, because I also go into the saunas naked, but it's only females. I haven't done it with males, but I do that naked at the gym. I don't care.
Yeah. I think for women in particular, that's the thing. For women in particular, it's not the naked, it's the threat. It's not us being naked or being together. It's the addition of the opposite sex.
It's the
I'm
opposite
not even
sex and what could
wouldn't
happen.
even bother me if we're in the space with me naked. The idea of men, for some reason, is a bit more threatening. And I don't know if it's just because maybe we're delicate to that idea. Maybe it's just us.
I mean, South Africa is a huge gender-based violence country, so we do have a lot of, I suppose, baggage that comes with us as being South African women. We are cautious. We are more attentive to what would make us vulnerable. So, do you have those same fears? Have you tried it? Haven't you tried it? Reach out to us. We really want to hear everything that you guys have to say about the show. See you next time.